Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Rapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimana Tusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptascha Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we always begin by first offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanita Leda Bhavishta Om Vishnuparasta Tarasat Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmanita Leda Bhavishta Om Vishnuparasta Tarasat Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj under our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga and all these Sambhu Vaishnavas Vaishnavis. So this is the first attempt to record a video of a class on the request of some Vaishnavas and put it on YouTube. We are in Eugene, Oregon at the house of Jagannath Prabhu, and there in the presence of Sri Radha Govinda and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, and there's Jagannath over in the corner. So, we have been reading about Sri Nityananda Prabhu since a day before, in the time of his appearance, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat by Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, the disciple of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Vedavyas, incarnated in this age to chronicle the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, as he did compile the Srimad Bhagavatam in the previous age. So I'm going to reread the verse that we ended with, the last few verses that we ended with a few days ago, because it's very important. We've been hearing so many things about Nityananda Prabhu, his birth, his early pastimes, and his travels throughout India. And this, of course, is before he has met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he has taken up his role as the teacher of Yuga Dharma, the spreader of Gora Prem, and he's just completed his meeting and time with Sri Madhavendra Puri, the seed of of Mahaprabhu's movement, the seed of this special Braj Prem that Mahaprabhu has come to give. And there are very many extraordinary purports by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada explaining so many important points about their meeting. So now Vrindavan Das Thakur is going to continue his explanation about Sri Nityananda Prabhu and his pastimes. And the question might arise, he's non-different from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Non-different. He's Balaram himself. And he has this extraordinary role in that Leela. Why didn't he not preach initially? All right? The same question might be asked of Mahaprabhu. Why did he cover himself with his scholarly pastimes? Because all of that has a role to play. Just as Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan are called Naravat Leela, they appear in many ways like the pastimes of the human-like, right? Human-like. He does not directly, obviously manifest his full Aishvarya, his potencies. Everything he does is done in a very beautiful and sweet way. Even the killing of demons. He doesn't use weapons like bows and arrows and clubs. He uses his hands, his feet, and even his mouth to suck the breast of Putana and take out her life air. All very bewildering to people who see these pastimes, and they all chalk it up to hagiography or myth, right? Oh, just incredible stories to create faith in the minds of foolish, innocent people. But there's far more to it than that. So we're going to continue hearing about Lord Nityananda. And the translation is, let's see, where are we? We are, what is the number of that verse? 211 to 213. Although Lord Nityananda is omnipotent, he did not distribute devotional service to the Lord at that time. When Lord Gauranga manifests his opulence, then on his order, that is Lord Gauranga, he, Nityananda, would begin to distribute devotional service. The servants and associates of Lord Chaitanya did not like to do anything without his instruction, but this does not diminish their glories in the least. Right. One of the specialities of Mahaprabhu's associates is that they're also involved in his pastimes in a special way. One thing that makes them different is that they appear in so many places throughout Bengal, different parts of India, hidden. And then when Mahaprabhu is ready to begin his full display of his devotional sentiments and then his pastimes as Yuga Avatar, the associates begin to collect and come to him. And until then, by the influence of Jogamaya, they don't even know his identity, nor their own and their relationship with each other. It's so beautiful. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says something here. And also remember this last line. They don't do anything without his instruction, but that does not diminish their glories in the least. So these are all extraordinary persons, right? And they have different roles. Some of them have very prominent roles, at least in our vision, and some are not known. But all of them are glorious. And we read the other day one of the lines from a beautiful song that is in our Vaishnav catalog called Sri Vaishnava Vandana by Devakinandana Das. And one line is, Brahmande Tarite Shakti Dore Jane Jane Eveda Purane Guna Gaya Jeba Shune. Each of his devotees possessed the power to deliver the entire universe. The Vedas and Puranas glorify this divine quality of the Vaishnavas to all willing to listen. So all the Vaishnavas, but they'll be given different roles, right? According to the Lord's will. But we make a mistake if we think that, oh, this Vaishnav is superior, this one is inferior. When we try to categorize them by our material consideration, we commit offense. So what does Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada say? He says, being a personal expansion of and non-different from Sri Gaura Krishna, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is Baladev, the personification of pure goodness, and who is the only bestower of love for Gaura Krishna, neither displayed mercy on anyone, nor distributed or preached chanting the holy names in love of God while visiting the holy places, thereby surpassing his eternally worshipable Lord, Sriman Mahaprabhu's desire, direct order, or time for the pastimes of preaching the holy names in love of God. Right? When the Supreme Independent Lord Mahaprabhu, out of his own free will and causeless mercy, will manifest his own glories to the fallen souls, at that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu will also manifest the pastime of door-to-door distribution of the holy names and love of God to the sinful living entities. Therefore, following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda, anyone who desires his own welfare does not transgress etiquette and manifest elevated language or material ego on the pretext of preaching topics of Krishna, while proudly masquerading as a guru in the presence of the Supreme Lord or his empowered representative, the Vaishnava Guru. That is why Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his pure devotional songbook, Kalyana Kalpataru, as follows: Amita Vaishnava e buddhi hale amani nahaba ami pratistasha ashi hridaya dusibe ohiba nidaya gami. If I think I am a Vaishnava, I shall look forward to receiving respect from others. And if the desire for fame and reputation pollute my heart, I shall certainly go to hell. End quote. The eternally blissful form of knowledge, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, is the eternal worshipable Lord of the living entities. And to carry out his order with body, mind, and speech is real Vaishnava fame. This is pure, transcendental, spiritual identification. This position is most relishable and beyond the insignificant, partial, abominable nature of perishable matter. And becoming prominent or dominant in the material sense is actually abominable, anxiety-filled service, and simply another way of describing one's insignificance. So that purport is packed with meaning, and you could say warnings to us. First of all, whenever we hear about Nityananda Prabhu, that same principle of the etiquette and the truth that we apply to Nityananda Prabhu, we also apply to our own empowered gurus, because Nityananda Prabhu is the full manifestation of Guru Tattva. So we learn how to honor and serve Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and we apply that same honor and conception of service to our own guru, who is the present manifestation of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. But as we heard earlier, we are warned not to create a sectarian mindset and think of my guru versus this other Vaishnava. That my guru is a pure devotee, this other Vaishnava, we don't know what he is. Everyone should follow the way I'm following. Everyone should follow my guru only. A bona fide guru, all of them are representatives of the Lord. And as we're getting a insight in this verse, that the Lord has his own plan according to time, according to place, according to circumstance, very broad. How this movement, this distribution of love of God is going to unpack and unfold in the history of humanity, right? And even Nityananda Prabhu, completely empowered, not different from Mahaprabhu, waited to take his own part in that plan, right? He's visiting all the holy places. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't benefit and mercy distributed to people who saw him and who heard him chanting. That Sukriti, of course, was spread everywhere, but he wasn't directly preaching, not directly manifesting that teaching of the Sankirtan movement. Um, he's waiting for the Supreme Independent Mahaprabhu, Lord Mahaprabhu, by his own free will, right, and causeless mercy, to choose that time, right? And then Sankirtan movement will take place. And actually, even in the unfolding of the Sankirtan movement since the time of Mahaprabhu, it is going step by step, sometimes progressing by our vision very beautifully, and then somewhat appearing to diminish. You know, when the six Goswamis, they were doing so much. After they were here, then there were so many atrocities and things done by Muslim invaders, persons like Aurangzeb, destroying temples. Appeared to be a covering time, right? Now our time, Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu, they did very much preaching, but after them, we don't know so much until the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And then another rising up. And then after that, where was Mahaprabhu's movement? It was in the hearts of the pure devotees in Vrindavan, in Navadvip, in Puri. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur comes. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur had his own very special mission. Saptam Goswami, right? The seventh Goswami, to reintroduce the literatures of the Goswamis, to, as they had discovered the pastime places of Krishna in Vrindavan, he also did that in Navadvip, establishing the place of the Lord's birth, beginning the process of preaching the holy name, Namhata, but still feeling there was so much more to be done, prayed that that special representative, that ray of Vishnu, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, appear as his son. And then he manifested Mahaprabhu's movement in a way that was very quite unique. In the culture of India, they'd never seen a religious, spiritual movement like this. Evangelical, aggressive preaching, opening temples, printing books, establishing the form and foundation, and then his own disciples went throughout India, continued that under difficult conditions. India in the 30s, 40s, 50s, very poor, depression, war, subjugated by the British Raj, and then coming out of that. And yet, the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada did so much if you really look and study that history. And they did it all according to how they were empowered and the will of the Lord, right? What was meant to be. And then one disciple, particularly chosen to go to the West, not the first to go to the West, but the first to go to the West in a special way. And by the efforts, the empowered efforts of that disciple, our Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, who is known by his godbrothers as Nityananda Avesh, empowered by that Lord Nityananda Prabhu to break the dam, the dam broken, and spread that flood of prema into the rest of the world, right? But all according to time, right? By the will of the Lord. And now we're seeing so many followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu going everywhere now and spreading this message, each with their own empowerment, each with their own capacity, but we should never minimize any of them. We should all try to see this in a very broad way, right? Now, there's something else. The last part of this purport, though, it's a very severe warning. For those following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda, in other words, anyone who wants to really be a follower of Lord Nityananda, in other words, come in the line of our Guru Varga, right? Especially our Rupanuga Guru Varga, but any of the followers of Mahaprabhu, there are so many branches of the Chaitanya tree, not to transgress etiquette, he says, and manifest elevated language or material ego on the pretext of preaching topics of Krishna while proudly masquerading as a guru, and he says, in the presence of the Supreme Lord or his empowered representative, the Vaishnava Guru. In other words, we're coming into bhakti, we're being taught so much, but in the presence of our own guru, in the presence of very elevated gurus, we should not try to transgress our own position, right? And think that because we have some capacity, we have some great intelligence, we have some great memory, we can study scripture, we know Sanskrit, and we can recite so many nice things, and then fall victim to the very dangerous pitfall of pratishdasha for material reputation, material recognition, honor. We use our capacity for elevated language and great learning, and we present ourselves as great preachers and authorities of this bhakti movement, and we try to put ourselves on the same platform of a genuinely elevated Vaishnava guru, or even criticize them and try to surpass them. Right? That's very dangerous, and he quotes the song of Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's also in our songbook. And when I'm reading that, I'm thinking that during the time of Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada, he had some disciples who were very intelligent, who learned Sanskrit, and under his direction were assisting him, and thought that they knew more. They thought that they detected some fault in Srila Prabhupada's translations. And they went and they heard from others, different so-called Vaishnava authorities, and actually criticized Srila Prabhupada. And what happened? They completely fell away from bhakti. Now, there are others who didn't do that. There are some of his other disciples and followers who had that role, who followed very nicely and very closely, and did not put themselves forward as some superior authority. And this happens very frequently among the followers of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Similar kind of experience. Some devotees that had been given a respect and high position in translating and speaking became very proud themselves and began to speak on topics that their guru would not talk about. Why? Because he didn't know it? No, but because he understood what is meant to be presented at that time to that particular audience in this part of Mahaprabhu's movement. So we have to be very careful to understand our own adhikar, our own eligibility, and always tread very carefully in the footsteps of great Vaishnavas and not try to surpass. Because he says becoming prominent or dominant in the material sense is actually abominable, anxiety-filled service, and simply another way of describing one's insignificance. Remember, heard that the other day? One's lagu, right? Guru means heavy, lagu means light, insignificant. Right? So that's why Mahaprabhu, he explains to us that the highest position in Vaishnava culture is to really embrace the idea of Gopi Bhartur Pada Kamalayor Dasa Das Anudas. Really understand that to be the servant of the servant of the servant. Be very happy. We don't need to push ourselves to the front to have some big position or to be recognized by others. This is dangerous, and it's like dog meat, according to Raghunath Das Goswami in his incredible book, Srimana Shiksha. He says this is like to take pleasure in that material recognition and fame and honor. Oh, I am a Vaishnava, everybody's honoring me. I can speak so nicely. I lead such great kirtans. It's like taking a bath or shower in donkey urine, fresh donkey urine, and thinking, oh, I'm getting very clean. Oh, this is so nice, this nice warm liquid. I'm washing it in my hair. I'm washing my face. I'm becoming so clean. To think that fame and reputation and honor is pleasurable is just as foolish and bizarre as thinking that bathing in hot donkey urine is cleansing you and pleasurable. That's what he says, not my words. So I just wanted to read that purport again. Very, very powerful. I mean, we have to keep that. So let's hear more about Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Brahma, Ananta, Shiva, and the other demigods create, maintain, and destroy under the order of Lord Chaitanya. Just see sinful persons who do not like to hear such things are not fit to be seen by the Vaishnavas. In other words, when we really embrace Vaishnava culture, we want to surround ourselves and be in the company of those who are seriously pursuing spiritual truth. And people that are not, who are distracted, who are in the pursuit of gross materialism, on the, not just sensual enjoyment, but philosophies and conceptions of life that are antithetical and opposed to spiritual well-being. Why would we want to be in that company? So he goes on to say, just see for yourself how Nityananda Prabhu has blessed the people of this universe with the treasure of devotional service. Chaitanyara Adi Bhakta Nityananda Rai Chaitanyara Jasha Vaishe Yanhara Jivaya. Lord Nityananda is the foremost devotee of Lord Chaitanya. For the glories of Lord Chaitanya always reside on his tongue. Day and night, Lord Nityananda chants the glories of Lord Chaitanya. So, when one worships Nityananda, he certainly attains devotion for Lord Chaitanya. That's why it's so wonderful to hear these glories, because by this awakening appreciation, attraction, even the glimmer of love for Lord Nityananda and his mercy will awaken in our heart. And by that, Mahaprabhu is captivated. Remember when we were discussing the pastime of Jagai and Madhai on his appearance day? Why did Jagai get the mercy first? Because even though they were both engaged in abominable activity and both were chasing and threatening Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas, when it came to the point where Madhai attacked Lord Nityananda and cut him with the broken pot, then Jagai intervened and stopped him from doing further harm. And even that activity, after so many bad things he had done, Mahaprabhu, seeing that Jagai had intervened to protect Nityananda, gave him the great gift of Gaur Prem. Right? You have protected my Nitai. And so he became the object of mercy. So Vrindavan Das Thakur says, so when one worships Nityananda, he certainly attains devotion for Lord Chaitanya. So when we consciously invoke this mood of worship, pray for these feelings, the awakening of love for Lord Nityananda, Mahaprabhu is so attracted, right? And the same thing towards our gurus. We pray to Nityananda, to Mahaprabhu, that love and devotion for our guru awaken. And our guru, remember, whenever we hear about Lord Nityananda, we hear about his own pastimes, but we also hear about him as representative of the principle of guru. Right? So, as a Khanda Guru Tattva, when we worship our guru in that same way, then Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda become appreciative towards us. And Saraswati Prabhupada says, if a living entity worships Sri Nityananda Prabhu and his Vaishnava followers, who constantly chant the glories of Sri Gaura Krishna, then his propensity for pure devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is enhanced. All right? And this is a very nice statement. If you worship, okay, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, obviously, but his Vaishnava followers, then his propensity for pure devotional service to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya is enhanced. Right? So, in the modern age, now that Mahaprabhu's movement has taken hold in the West, we have devotees awakening all over the planet. Right? It's extraordinary to see. But many of us, and certainly myself included, are on the platform of Kanishta. We're beginners, right? And one of the symptoms of a beginner is they can't see the Vaishnavata of others. They may have love for their own guru and even deep faith in Nishta, fixed faith for their guru. But we have the unfortunate tendency not to see that in others who possess these Vaishnava qualities and may even criticize them. Or we break into different sectarian groups and refuse to cooperate. Right? And this is just the way it is. I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada wanted his followers. He said, the symptom of your love for me will be how you cooperate together when I leave. And many of them did. And Srila Prabhupada also wanted that, not just among his own followers, but all the Vaishnava communities. We haven't got to that point yet. Right? But if, and this is something at least I'm trying to cultivate in my older age, that even for this reason or that reason, we're not associating with this group of devotees or that group of devotees or this group of God brothers or that group of God brothers. I'm trying not to find fault with any, but look to see what is their devotion to their guru. What are their good qualities, right? And what have they done for their guru now? What have they done for their guru in the past? And especially when I think of my God brothers, and ISKCON and all of its far-flung ways, filled with devotees that have done so much, who gave up their youth, their youthful energy, their lives to their guru. And even though, now as we continue, there may be some fault there in our attempt, but Srila Prabhupada was so kind and compassionate to us. He loved his followers so much, and he always encouraged even the most insignificant of service. So I want to try to develop that mood. That mood was shown to me by Srila Prabhupada, certainly by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Can I embrace that mood towards others? Let Krishna sort it out. Who's done this? Who's done that? Don't criticize. Don't find fault. Worship the pure Vaishnavas. Honor their followers. Right? Encourage everyone. So he goes on, Vrindavan Das Thakur, to say, Adideva Jaya Jaya Nityananda Rai Chaitanya Mahima Spure Yanhara Kripaya. All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is the first manifestation of Lord Chaitanya. The glories of Lord Chaitanya become manifest by his mercy and by the mercy of those who represent him, right? Our Guru Varga. One becomes attached to Nityananda by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya. And one who knows Nityananda never faces any adversities. So by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one becomes attached to Nityananda and to that special guru that has been sent to help us, to reclaim us. And how do we do that? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada explains. On the strength of non-duplicitous surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, non-duplicitous surrender, no other motive, no hidden personal motive, material motive, right? Non-duplicitous to Nityananda Ram and his representative, right? A living entity achieves freedom from the conditioned state and becomes qualified to assist Sri Nityananda in his 10 forms of service to Gaura Krishna. Sri Thakuranartam has sung, He na Nitai Vinay Bhai, Radha Krishna Paite Nai, Dita Kori Dada Nitai Paya. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, no one can achieve Radha Krishna. Therefore, tightly catch hold of Nitai's lotus feet. End quote. Liberated souls are eligible to drown in the ocean of Sri Gaura's service under the guidance of Sri Nityananda. Okay. So then, next text. Those who wish, I don't read the Bengali as much because we want to continue on, but it's so beautiful, even though I don't understand Bengali. I can understand a lot of the words. And each verse is like a song, like the beautiful bhajans that we sing. Each of these verses can be sung to these wonderful tunes. Those who, like, Sam Sarera Parahanya Bhaktida Sagare Yedu Bibi Sehi Bajuka Nitai Chandere. Those who wish to cross the ocean of material existence and drown in the ocean of devotional service must worship Lord Nityananda. Someone said, Nityananda is just like Balaram. Another person said, he is most dear to Sri Chaitanya. Someone may consider Nityananda a sannyasi. Someone may consider him a devotee. And someone may consider him a jnani. They may say whatever they like. Even if Nityananda was a most insignificant servant of Lord Chaitanya, still, I would keep his lotus feet in my heart. Right, Nityananda Prabhu is a puzzle to those who see him because he is avadut. His pastimes are completely beyond rules, regulations, considerations of the rules of this material world, varna, ashram, dharma. And this whole idea of him being a sannyasi, I have one very dear godbrother, he's passed on now, and he did a lot of service. But we had this argument whether he was a sannyasi or not. And and there are many verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita where he is a sannyasi. Some of our Guru Varga say he was, some say he wasn't. Srila Prabhupada said he kept his brahmachari name. But he definitely dressed at times like a sannyasi and took the role of a sannyasi, and sometimes not. So, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, whatever, however they see him, even if Nityananda was a most insignificant servant of Lord Chaitanya, still I would keep his lotus feet in my heart. And so, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, some people consider Sri Nityananda Prabhu as the sannyasi disciple of Sri Lakshmipati Tirtha. Some people, on seeing his love for Krishna, consider him a devotee. And other people consider him a great renunciate and learned scholar of Vedanta. They may consider my Lord in whichever way they want. Or my worshipable Lord Sri Nityananda Prabhu may be related to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply as a menial servant. But I will not enter into this unnecessary subject. I will place the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda within my heart while considering him my eternal worshipable Lord. Remember when Krishna appeared and did his pastimes, some people considered him a cowherd boy. Some considered him an immoral person, right? And then he became a king, manifested so many different roles. People tried to impose these roles or identities on him. So even saying that he's a disciple of Lakshmipati Tirtha, certainly he performed that leela. Is he really a disciple of Sri Lakshmipati Tirtha? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that leela, in that pastime, when they appeared, he accepted that role and embraced that identity and that mood, right? And certainly he is the devotee. And he played the role of a great renunciate and learned scholar, all of that. Later on, there's going to be another discussion like that. Because sometimes he's going to dress very regally and opulently with bangles and ornaments and fine dress. Sometimes he's going to carry a trident like a renounced sannyasi, like a Shaivite, and he's going to show himself in so many different ways, and that's going to be, one Brahmin is going to ask that question. He's so confused. How can he adopt so many contradictory roles? But he's Lord Nityananda. He's the Lord himself. And there's a purpose for all these pastimes. And there's a glory and a joy in them as well, but we can't impose the rules of mundane varna and ashram on him, and there's a purpose and meaning behind that. How ultimately bhakti transcends all of these. But only Nityananda takes the role of avadut. All the rest of our acharyas, even Mahaprabhu himself, very, very strict in terms of their activities and the way they behaved in ordinary society. But Nityananda, Prabhu, for very important reasons, is acting completely outside of all of these things, because he is the Supreme Lord himself, non-different from Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and yet he acts as his menial servant to teach us, and we always take his lotus feet in our heart. He is our eternal worshipable Lord. And so Vrindavan Das Thakur says, therefore, I kick the head of any sinful person who disregards the glories of Lord Nityananda and dares to criticize him. Commentary. The word pahihara means to rectify the faults, to drop the charges, to pray, to offer, to abandon, and to neglect. He's referring to the verse. This Chaitanya Bhagavat is composed in classical Bengali, and a lot of its commentaries, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada gives specific meanings to some of the words so that they're not misunderstood in the modern context, or that scholars don't take them in the wrong way. So then he continues, in order to permanently stop the continual irreverence towards the Supreme Lord by those hellish people who enviously criticize Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and to render them eternal benefit and good sense, the author is ready to kick them in the head. Lord Nityananda kicked the Buddhists in the head. He went to them, he associated with them, he spoke to them, but they couldn't acknowledge him, they couldn't understand him, they couldn't appreciate him. And so he kicked them in the head. But what does it mean to be kicked in the head by the lotus feet of the Lord? Even the demon Hiranyaksha, what happened to him? He was kicked in the head by the lotus foot of Lord Varaha, and he got the greatest benefit, right? So there's no fault to that. It's actually a great benediction. And the author also, if need be, if that's what it takes to correct your mentality, I will kick you in the head. But oh, how glorious that would be to be kicked in the head. I have one godbrother, Sajjan Raj, who always used to get as close to Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj as he could. And he would do silly things sometimes. When Maharaj was there, sitting down with his feet on the ground, Sajjan Maharaj would come up and put his head on his feet, sometimes to the annoyance of Srila Maharaj. And then he would kick him in the head. And Sajjan Maharaj would smile and happily move away. So, the author is ready to kick them in the head by the statement of the most merciful Sri Thakur Mahashai to the staunch atheists. The transcendental goddess of learning, Shuddha Saraswati, displays the firm attachment of a servant towards his master, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, thus teaching everyone through illuminating words that although Thakur Mahashai, that's Vrindavan Das Thakur, and other pure devotees who act and preach in his footsteps are detached from those who are extremely uninterested in their own welfare, who are determined to run towards hell, and who are ignorant of the truth regarding Sri Nityananda. They are nevertheless, that is the devotees, selflessly and causelessly merciful towards the fallen souls. While Sri Thakur Vrindavan, who is a Vaishnava acharya, the direct incarnation of Vyas, and servant of Sri Nityananda, and acts as pastime of transcendentally kicking, even if one particle of dust falls on the head of some fortunate persons, they will certainly achieve auspiciousness. In other words, their anartha nivriti, or freedom from unwanted things, is guaranteed. In other words, whatever the pure devotee does is an act of compassion, even if it's to the point of apparently severe chastisement, even kicking someone in the head. Great benefit for that person to touch the foot of such a great personality, the dust from their feet falling on their head. The exhibition of such compassion, such great compassion, by Sri Vishnu or the Vaishnavas is beyond the imagination or intelligence of the foolish non-devotees who cannot discriminate between what is favorable and what is unfavorable for their own welfare. The all-auspicious endeavors and behavior of the preachers and practitioners of pure devotional service to Gaura Krishna, who follow in the footsteps of Thakur Sri Vrindavan, who is the direct incarnation of Sri Vyas, display on one hand gross punishment on the fallen averse living entities, and on the other hand, subtle, unlimited compassion on them. So we don't see so many examples of gross punishment in our day-to-day dealings, but we do see examples of verbal chastisement, and sometimes receiving that from the advanced Vaishnava, we become disturbed. Oh, my guru doesn't like me. This Vaishnava is cruel and mean to me. I won't be in their association. I won't accept their instruction. I'm going away. They don't really love me. They neglect me, right? Whatever the Vaishnava does in our direction is for a benefit. Whether they give us attention, pats on the head, or criticism or punishment, whatever it is, it's for our benefit. And one example of that, we've told this story before, but among the followers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada was one sannyasi, made sannyasi by Saraswati Prabhupada, Bhakti Vivek Bharti Maharaj. Very amazing Vaishnava follower, very strong preacher. Also a very large individual. And he had a temperament that appeared to be very harsh at times. The general brahmacharis and everyone were afraid of him because he could chastise them very strongly or even hit them. In Indian culture, that's not so unusual that the teacher or someone might hit you, right? But he was very strong. So no one wanted to be his servant. And one brahmachari, Siddhaswarup brahmachari, was put in his service. And this was a very talented young devotee, very talented. And he became the humble servant of Bhakti Vivek Bharti. And Bhakti Vivek Bharti Maharaj would chastise him and would be seen sometimes to beat him on the back very strongly. And the other Vaishnavas were thinking, oh, this boy, he's so delicate. He's being beaten by this Maharaj. And so they went to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada and they warned. They said, oh, we don't know. He's receiving such chastisement. He may leave. None of us could take this. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada called Siddhaswarup Brahmachari and said, oh, I've been told that Bharti Maharaj treats you very harshly and beats you. Perhaps you'd like to serve under some other sannyasi. Because this was the system that, qualified young brahmacharis, especially those who were capable of preaching, would be put under the direction of one of the sannyasis of Saraswati Prabhupada. He had 18 of them. Perhaps you'd like to serve under someone else. And Siddhaswami Brahmachari said, no. Bharati Maharaj, he has so much affection for me that he beats me for my benefit, to purify me of my anarthas, my unwanted things. I only want to be with him. And to the surprise of everyone, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada took great pleasure in that answer. That this boy had this vision that all of this was being done out of compassion, not out of gross anger. Now, that's not to say that less advanced Vaishnavas, those who are still Kanishta, may exhibit anger or the hot sauce, and it's said, oh, that's transcendental anger, it's a wonderful thing. Well, it may not be. It may just be mundane anger. And the motive for it may not be the compassion and the benefit of that person. It may be because their own desires or whatever are not being fulfilled. Right? Same action, different motive, different realization. And then from that point all the way up to Uttam, there may be different gradations. However, devotee, what do they think? Tattenu kampam susamikshamaano, whatever's coming to me, somehow or other Krishna's arranging this. Right? And if I can tolerate and try to understand the Krishna's intent in all of this, and it's either a result of my own karma, or Krishna's trying to teach me patience, tolerance, or some higher realization and ability to discriminate between what's a real Vaishnava motive and quality and what's not, whatever. I'm going to try to take the higher road. But in this case, he understood that this was a greatly advanced Vaishnava acting for his benefit. And Saraswati Prabhupada was very pleased by that answer, because indeed that was the fact. And this young brahmachari went on to serve with Bharati Maharaj past the pastimes of Saraswati Prabhupada after he left this world. They founded a mission, and when Bharati Maharaj left this world, he also took sannyas and became the leader of the mission. And he became Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj, very famous preacher, disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, very close friend of Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj, of Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Vaman and Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj, and leader of a very powerful branch of the tree of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. So he had that mentality that to get the kick on the head of a great devotee can be very wonderful, right? So then, Kona Chaitanyara Loka Nityananda Prati Manda Bole Hena Deka Se Kevala Stuti. If you find any follower of Lord Chaitanya appear to say something bad about Nityananda, you should know for certain that what they said was actually a glorification. Okay, now this is a distinction between the behavior and activities of pure devotees, pure followers of Mahaprabhu, and their dealings with Nityananda, and perhaps one who doesn't have the appropriate vision. Like, say, Advaita Acharya. Who is this unknown person, this avadut who has come amongst us? I don't know. He's giving so much trouble associating with him. I don't know what will be my fate. I may lose my caste. Advaita saying this, Haridas criticizing him. Oh, this foolish Nityananda, I don't know what he's doing, preaching to these people. He's going to get us killed. So many funny pastimes of them criticizing him. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, no pure devotee of Gora can criticize or tolerate criticism against Nityananda Prabhu. If anyone thinks that the statements of Sri Advaita Prabhu towards Sri Nityananda Prabhu were criticisms, that is simply his misunderstanding and offense. If you think Advaita is committing offense, then you're committing offense. One should not lose faith in the lotus feet of Nityananda, who is the only shelter and goal of all living entities, by considering the so-called criticism of Nityananda to be criticism, when actually it is glorification of Nityananda. And when you come to those pastimes and you hear what Advaita Prabhu is saying, actually, by saying, we don't know what his caste is. Right, he doesn't have a caste. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everything that he says about him, seen from the transcendental perspective, is actually a beautiful, sweet glorification and pastime. Very, very, very wonderful. Nitya Shuddha Jnanavanta Vaishnava Sakala Tabeye Kalahadeka Sabha Kutuhala. Vaishnavas are always pure and full of knowledge, so if there is ever any quarrel between them, you should know it is simply part of their pastimes. That's important. Actually, that's a good place to begin for our next class tomorrow, because Srila Prabhupada also explained that when he was with his godbrothers, he might write or say something critical of them in his fervor to preach, and they might say something to him, because all Vaishnavas have their own speciality and their own mood of service, and in their mood of prema, even the gopis criticize each other. Right? But that's not our position. We're not coming from that same platform. So we have to be very careful. So we'll hear this tomorrow, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's careful instruction and warning. Okay, so I'll stop here, and we'll see how that worked out. The first time we're making one of these recordings.